I was aware that I was being assaulted by a powerful mental attack. But regardless, I had already reached the 3rd level. Moreover, I possessed an extraordinary strength-type talent. Ignoring the danger, I charged straight towards He Jinju. He Jinju let out a terrified scream. Jin Rue, save me. But in that critical moment, I unleashed a lightning-fast knee strike, hitting the enemy square in the face and knocking him out cold. He Zhenju stood frozen, her face filled with astonishment. The blonde man had appeared, standing confidently on the landing between the 1st and 2nd floors. I turned back to He Zhenju and gave her a casual smile. Big sis, isn't your little brother amazing? He Zhenju snapped back to reality, patting her ample bosom, her expression still tinged with fear. Little brother is indeed very strong. Just wondering, in other aspects, is little brother just as strong? I smiled in response, a thought crossing my mind. With just your skills, you dare to dream? A hawk trying to eat a sparrow? Keep dreaming. He scoffed and walked upstairs. He Jinju swiftly dealt with the last opponent, then walked over to Jin Rue, looking at him with disdain. The blonde man said in a low voice, so young, yet possessing at least B-rank strength. Quite impressive. I saw him earlier. He seems to have a strength-type talent, at least SS rank. He must be the young master of some super-powered organization, sent out for real-world combat training. He Jinju licked her lips, a greedy glint in her eyes. In that case, I must have a taste of him. Meanwhile, on the 3rd floor, chaos reigned. A brilliant, earthy yellow light suddenly emanated from Balu. Under this radiant glow, the 3 holes on Balu's body were encased in a sturdy armor made of earth. On the bed, the beautiful woman from before was trembling in fear, clutching the blanket, huddled in a corner. A man with a stout physique was desperately fleeing through the forest when earthen hands suddenly erupted from the ground. In a desperate attempt to escape, the man suddenly reached out towards Balu. An almost transparent, ethereal hand materialized in midair, grasping Balu's head tightly and delivering a fatal blow. A powerful surge of murderous intent was directed at Balu. Eli stood silently in the shadows, his sharp Vanton blade held firmly in his hand, waiting for the opportune moment to deliver a finishing blow to his opponent. I leaped onto the He Jinju, Black Pearl, and the blonde man followed close behind. The fat man panicked and fled, his terrified screams echoing in the air. From a ring on his finger, pulled out a transparent raincoat. He hastily put on the raincoat. In the blink of an eye, the fat man's body vanished, becoming completely invisible. A sense of unease washed over me, and I quickly activated my sensory perception ability. The entire room suddenly materialized in my mind, and at the same time, a large, hulking figure appeared. He gripped a bizarre pistol in both hands, pointing it directly at Balu's head. "Look out! You got a gun!" I shouted a warning. A deafening gunshot rang out. An ochre light enveloped Balu, converging on his heart and groin, protected by his pants. Immediately after the shot, the ochre aura shattered. A small ochre sphere crumbled and fell to the ground. Balu's face went pale. A hole appeared between his eyebrows, his skin splitting open. Blood gushed out. Balu turned, looking at me with gratitude in his eyes. The previous disdain had completely vanished, replaced by a reverence that bordered on worship. Another one with a sensory talent. The fat man turned around. He raised the ominous black barrel, pointing it directly at me, killing intent radiating off him. Witnessing the scene, Balu quickly raised his hand. A thick earthen wall abruptly sprouted from the ground, shielding me. A deafening gunshot echoed. The earthen wall Balu had just conjured instantly crumbled, but I had quickly dodged to another spot. The slaughter rune on the back of his hand flickered with a sinister light. "You little brat, tell me his location so I can finish him off." Balu roared furiously. I bent down low, my eyes fixed on the obese man. "Can't you turn the ground into sand?" Wouldn't his footprints immediately appear then? Balu smacked his head as if suddenly enlightened. Why didn't I think of that? As soon as he finished speaking, he stomped his foot on the ground. The ground instantly transformed into fine sand. The obese man followed suit. A trail of unexpected footprints appeared at the hideout. Simultaneously, the black muzzle of his gun pointed directly at me. Thanks to my heightened senses, I predicted exactly where the bullet would land. A timely dodge helped me evade the fatal second shot. My hands swiftly formed the hand seals, summoning two colossal earthen hands from the ground. The powerful earthen hands seized and tightly gripped the obese man. Huh, got you, I thought to myself. The pressure from the earthen hands intensified, immobilizing him. The invisibility cloak he wore suddenly slipped, revealing his obese face, flushed crimson with rage. Panic and fear were etched across his face. Eli and the blonde man launched their attacks simultaneously, aiming directly at the restrained obese man. They wanted to completely neutralize his ability to resist. But surprisingly, he roared with fury. A blinding blue light emanated from the ring on his finger. He quickly shoved a strange pill into his mouth. Immediately after, his eyeballs turned bloodshot, filled with terrifying blood vessels. His entire body flushed with rage. A world-shaking aura suddenly erupted from him. He's breaking the seal. Run! Baloo screamed in terror. The fat man let out a savage, distorted laugh. I'd gladly lose 3 years of my life just to achieve level 5 combat power in this instant and slaughter you all. With that, he swung his hand towards Baloo, as if trying to grab him from afar. A nearly invisible hand materialized behind Baloo, viciously clamping down on his head. Baloo let out a blood-curdling scream and collapsed to the ground. Blood gushed from Baloo's orifices. The blonde man and He Jinju scrambled out of the room in panic. The blonde man and He Jinju desperately tried to escape. Eli, his face ice cold, yelled, "Run!" But suddenly, the ring on the fat man's finger flashed with a blinding light. A staff, about a meter long, appeared in his hand, looking like a conductor's baton. He pointed the staff at the blonde man. Huang and He Jinju were making a desperate escape, along with Eli, then suddenly pointed back at me. All three of them risked everything, jumping out the window, plummeting to the ground. Mid-air, they were struck by some sort of mystical body freezing spell. Heads pointed down, their bodies stiff, practically paralyzed. But the fat man's gaze suddenly shifted towards me, the one still inside the room. He saw that I hadn't run, but instead made a strange gesture, one hand placed over my chest. A twisted smile spread across the fat man's pudgy face. It's because of you that I was forced to eat the forbidden fruit. If I have to live 3 years less, then I'll torment you for 3 years first. With those words, the fat man charged towards me menacingly. He intended to cut out my tongue. As for me, with one hand still on my chest, I silently chanted Caesar's incantation. Just as the fat man reached me, I, who should have been frozen, slowly raised my head. Crimson eyes glowed in my face, radiating the disdain of a sovereign. We are inherently different. A mere mortal who dares to look upon me shall face the judgment of a king. With those words, I slowly raised a hand. Upon it, the mystical runes of the 6th level slaughter sigil pulsed with terrifying power. The fat man's eyes widened, fixated on my blood-red pupils. His mind reeled, never having witnessed such a terrifying talent. The urge to flee consumed him, but his legs felt like lead, refusing to move. I turned my palm towards the fat man. The 6th level slaughter sigil on my arm spun violently, hurtling towards his chest with terrifying speed. 5 crimson holes blossomed on the fat man's chest, like 5 deadly flowers. He staggered back 5 steps, his face contorted in agony. He looked up, disbelief etched on his face as he stammered. "WH, what kind of talent is this?" As the words left his lips, he collapsed, lifeless. All life had vanished. I waved my hand over his corpse, and a crimson drop of blood flew into my palm. The 4th level slaughter sigil on my right hand. My hand was instantly stained crimson red. Turning around, my crimson eyes glared at the woman, cowering behind the bed. Terror seized her. In her panic, she stumbled into the nightstand. She saw a handgun inside. The woman frantically grabbed the gun with both hands, aimed it at me, and pulled the trigger. I tilted my head slightly. The bullet grazed my cheek, leaving a trail of bright red blood. In the next instant, the wound on my face miraculously closed, a terrifying regenerative ability. This extraordinary power left the woman speechless in astonishment. At the same time, a murderous intent flickered in my blood-red eyes. My arm, still wrapped around the other woman's slender waist, suddenly rose, pointing directly at the woman with the gun. A loud bang erupted. On the woman's chest, a crimson hole appeared, and her limp body collapsed to the ground. Then I released my hands. My body, The unfortunate souls who perished on the first and second floors began to rise, transforming into crimson points of blood flying towards the slaughter circle. They merged into it as if devoured by the circle. Immediately after, the fourth rune on the circle suddenly blazed with light, its crimson glow intensifying. A powerful sensation surged, signaling that the fifth rune was about to ignite. It was only a matter of time. With everything completed, I gently waved my hand, and the slaughter circle instantly shrunk, disappearing into my palm. The crimson color in my eyes gradually receded like the ebbing tide. Exhausted, I clutched my chest, gasping for breath, and collapsed onto the ground. During the moment, my body was controlled. I witnessed all of the Slaughter King's actions from an omniscient perspective, like a deity observing all creation. I never imagined the Slaughter King possessed such terrifying power. Looking at the two cold corpses on the ground, I wonder how I could outsmart Eli and the others. With the fat man's death, the restrictions on, Eli's group outside were also lifted one by one. The blonde man and Heijinju both wore bewildered expressions, unsure of what had just transpired. Absolutely do not look back at the third floor. Quickly move to a safe area outside. Ellie stood in front of the villa, hesitation filling her heart. Then, gritting her teeth, she activated her assassination talent, her figure melting into the shadows, silently making her way towards the third floor. After all, she was the one who brought Fangchen here. She absolutely couldn't leave him alone. The moment she saw the fat man's corpse, Ellie froze. He was really dead. Immediately after, her eyes fell upon Fang Chun lying on the ground. Ellie rushed over, anxiously asking, "Fang Chun, are you hurt?" I clutched my chest, shaking my head weakly at Ellie. Ellie asked again, "What happened just now? Did you kill him?" I lied with a serious face. "I don't know. I suddenly lost control of my body. Then for some reason, I felt a sharp pain in my chest and passed out." Ellie gently touched my chest. My heart is pounding out of my chest, like it's trying to tell me something. "I'll get you to a hospital. We have to hurry. If we don't get to a hospital soon, I'm afraid I won't make it." Eli froze for a moment, suddenly flustered, unsure of how to respond. I struggled to sit up and said, "I think I just need a little rest. But now that the killer is dead, all the leads are gone." Eli was silent for a moment, then said, "It's okay. As long as you're alive, that's all that matters. I remember you possess a psychic talent. Once your combat ability reaches a certain level, you can directly use that psychic talent to control your enemies." I was stunned, my jaw dropped. Psychic talent can do that? Eli then picked up the command staff and retrieved the invisibility cloak, the revolver, and removed the ring from the man's finger. "Bring them all to me. The spoils I promised you before, they're all yours now." Honestly, I really desire these things. But remembering the previous lesson, I cautiously asked, "Is there any of his chi remaining within these items? If I take them, and he comes looking for trouble later, what should I do?" Other branches have to hand over their spoils to their superiors, but Branch 9 has a special channel, specifically for removing the chi from spoils. For its members, you just need to use your Ji Lian Qi to scan over the spoils. At that moment, Heijinju and the blonde man, completely unaware of what had transpired, suddenly walked in from outside. After seeing the dead man, they both stared at me in astonishment. Seeing their reaction, I recounted what I had just told Eli. I repeated everything to both of them. They looked skeptical and began to inspect the room. Heijinju emerged, his gaze fixed intently on the upper floor, meticulously observing. A 5-star cultivator losing their life. The blonde man grew more certain with each passing thought and spoke aloud. That brat must be the young master of some super powerful organization sent out to temper himself. Just now, either a senior expert secretly lent a hand, or he carries a hidden treasure with terrifying power. Heijinju licked his lips, a greedy glint flashing in his eyes. I'm even more eager to have a taste of him now. Just before parting ways, Heijinju slipped a small piece of paper into my pocket, signaling me not to forget to contact him. Then, he got into his car and left. I took out the paper and saw it was a contact method. Without hesitation, I threw it away and went home. As soon as I got home, I took out the Ji Lian Qi, carefully erasing any lingering aura from all the spoils I had acquired today. At the same time, the Jilin Shi quickly assessed the quality of these items. Invisibility cloak, rank 4 treasure. Pistol, also a rank 4 treasure. The seemingly ordinary longevity staff was actually a 9th grade treasure, but only those with 5th grade battle strength could unlock its power, although it could only immobilize opponents of the same level, and its uses were limited. It was still a valuable asset for looting and adventuring. Later, while examining the storage ring, Wu Yin discovered a quarter of the research materials on the Hong Huang project related to the Qilin beast. He also found an old, worn notebook. The notebook chronicled the journey of a researcher who, with the support of Feng Qingdi's grandfather, successfully smuggled the Qilin into the god and demon ruins. Finally, this person used all the remaining energy of his ancient Wugu talent, to bestow a blessing and a curse upon the notebook. Whoever possessed this notebook, if righteous and good-hearted, could form a contract with the Qilin. Conversely, the wicked and treacherous would suffer a tragic fate. The moment I closed the diary, a sharp pain shot through my fingertip as if pricked by something. Without hesitation, I tossed the diary aside and quickly examined my finger. Sure enough, there it was, a tiny red dot on the tip. I rubbed my fingertip and felt a strange energy coursing through my body. Great. Reading your tattered diary and getting caught up in this nonsense about blessings and curses, I muttered. Who writes a diary like this? So bizarre. But wait, don't I have the beast tamer talent? It suddenly dawned on me. If I could tame that Qilin, wouldn't I become extraordinary? Plus, the diary mentioned my grandfather. I felt like I was being pulled into a mysterious vortex, and all these mysteries seemed somehow connected. Time flew by. It was past 11 p.m. I went back in the bathroom, stood before the mirror, and began chanting the rune slaughter incantation. The outcome was the same as last night. No matter how hard I tried to show off and flaunt myself, the reflection in the mirror remained indifferent, completely motionless. Back in my room, I picked up my phone and saw Qin Junhao shining in the class group chat again. He started his performance by sending out a barrage of huge red envelopes. Xiao Chong, his loyal sidekick, after quickly snatching a red envelope, immediately began to flatter him. Brother Hao, why aren't you resting yet? Is something bothering you? You're about to report to Bureau 7. What else could you possibly be worried about? I'm about to go to the youth training camp. My dad bought me a private jet, but I want to experience the feeling of a long road trip myself. But I'm torn between choosing the 7 million yuan sports car or the 12 million yuan supercar. It suddenly dawned on me, a plump sheep without a shearing goes against the natural order. Taking advantage of the chaos, I quickly snatched a few red envelopes. Suo Xin Jiao saw my red envelope looting notification and hurriedly messaged me, asking, "Classmate Fong Chun, are you still awake?" I replied seriously, "No, I'm troubled." "What's on your mind?" she asked. "I've awakened too many talents, and they're all at a relatively average level. I really don't know which one to start cultivating first. I'm so worried I can't sleep." Meanwhile, Qin Junhao's boastful words had completely vanished. Not a trace of arrogance remained. I lay on my bed, gazing out the window. Tonight, Lancheng City was unusually quiet and eerie silence. Suddenly, my Tian Shield smart device started blinking incessantly. I checked it and saw it was a message from the group chat of the Bureau 9's youth training camp. The message basically said that after the youth training camp officially opens, there's an upcoming assessment test, and Bureau 9's test is rumored to be the most brutal. In previous assessments, no one has ever passed unscathed, except for those who have reached combat power level 4, and throughout history, awakened individuals possessing SSS level talent and reaching combat power level 4 have only numbered 2. Looking at the messages in the group chat, I silently assessed my own strength. Currently, with my strength type talent, I can unleash a maximum power of level 3, but with my level 6 slaughter talent, I can unleash power up to the peak of level 4. If I can summon level 6 slaughter, the Demon King can reach the absolute power threshold of level 5. Thus, in the entire history of Manhwa, China, I could at least break into the top 3. Just at that moment, suddenly, a message from Bai Yulin popped up on the screen. He abruptly changed the subject, announcing that tonight, a massacre targeting espers would take place throughout the Honglian district. Does anyone know about this? I shot up in shock, rushing to the window. No wonder it was unusually quiet tonight. Just then, a hand suddenly appeared in the room. My head spun, everything went black. When things returned to normal, I found myself beside a man with snow-white hair. In the dead of night, he wore pitch-black sunglasses, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. I looked down and realized with horror that I was suspended hundreds of meters in the air. I stumbled, nearly falling, and stammered. "Dude, what are you doing in the middle of the night? What if I was using the bathroom or taking a shower and you yanked me out here? Wouldn't I be stark naked?" Ji Xing raised an eyebrow skeptically. He pointed down below, saying, "I brought you here to earn some merit, to accumulate contribution points. After the semester starts, you'll need points to purchase supplies." Hearing this, I looked down and found myself suspended in midair. The entire city of Lanzhou lay spread out beneath me. Every nook and cranny of Lanzhou, this bustling city, was encased in a gigantic hemispherical barrier, like a transparent glass cage. Beneath the barrier, countless locations were engulfed in fierce battles of varying scales, creating a scene of utter chaos. I immediately understood and asked, "So you're the commander-in-chief of this deviant extermination operation in Lanzhou?" "Not quite," Ji Xing replied, shaking his head with his hands in his pockets. "I'm not the commander for the Lanzhou operation. I'm in charge of the entire operation, across Qingzhou province." I chuckled inwardly. Let the old man have his moment. What was it he just mentioned about credit points? Following that, the white-haired man gave a brief explanation of the credit point system. Credit points could be exchanged for valuable resources within the academy. One way to earn them was by eliminating deviants and collecting points. The point system for deviants below rank 5 was as follows. A rank 1 deviant was worth 100 credit points. Rank 2 was 200 points, and so on. For deviants on the government's wanted list, bonus credit points would be awarded. Additionally, credit points could be purchased with money, an exchange rate of 10,000 to 1 point. After a battle concluded, one simply needed to use the Jillian device to scan the corpse, collecting the deceased's aura. If the review department found no issues, the credit points would be automatically added to the account. These reviewers possessed special talents. The system's sensors in the background will rely on their special abilities to read a fragment of the deceased's final memories. I'm looking at the Ji Lian Qi tree in your hand. It truly lives up to its reputation, worthy of being called the Bai Bao Ji. Truly remarkable. So, if I team up with someone else to eliminate an enemy, how are the points calculated? Based on the damage ratio you inflict on the opponent, the points will be distributed accordingly. If there are no more questions, let's begin. With that, Zhu Guxing gently patted me on the back. I felt a sudden dizziness, and the next moment, I appeared inside a barrier. Inside the barrier, there were 3 level 2 espers, along with a level 3 esper from the Tianshan Bureau, forming a 5-person squad. Both sides were momentarily stunned upon seeing me, unsure of each other's backgrounds. Among them, an esper with a ferocious expression. He stared at me, his gaze burning like fire. Ascend to heaven with Bai Luo, descend to the underworld with me. I hesitated, torn between the 2 choices, caught in a dilemma. The phrase, neither here nor there, both unseen, flashed through my mind. Hearing this, the strange man let out a cold, scornful laugh. Wrong password. With that, his massive hand lunged towards me. A nearly translucent hand, almost ethereal, emerged from the filthy puddle at his feet. Just when things seemed hopeless, a blinding light flashed. The captain of the Tian Shield Bureau squad brandished his sharp laser sword, the sword's light blazing, severing the nearly transparent, ghostly hand. "Quick, protect him," the captain commanded sharply. Immediately, a squad member stepped in front of me, shielding me from danger. "Don't move. How did you get here?" I pointed towards a figure hovering in midair. "That person with white hair, that's who brought me here." Hearing this, the squad member guarding Fong Chun was stunned, his face filled with astonishment. Instinctively, he looked up towards the vast sky. "You must be Instructor Zhu Ge. I'm a new trainee from Department 9. As we were talking, that squad and 3 espers suddenly engaged in a fierce battle. The squad leader possessed lightning-type abilities, his power reaching Tier 3. The esper with wraith-type abilities also boasted comparable Tier 3 strength. The 2 sides were locked in a stalemate. Suddenly, the esper slammed his hand onto the ground with lightning speed. A bizarre magic circle instantly materialized on the ground. He yanked his hand up, pulling a corpse from beneath the earth. The corpse looked like a zombie risen from the underworld. Even more terrifying, this corpse also possessed terrifying Tier 3 strength. "Get back. The squad member protecting me immediately jumped in front of me. Department 9's new trainee, AI number 01, wasn't just anyone. He wouldn't act recklessly. But unexpectedly, I suddenly rushed forward. The squad member cried out in alarm. "What in the world are you doing?" "That guy summoned a monstrous ghoul, which lunged at me, baring its ferocious fangs the moment it saw me. This NDT Zero's body. Forging it into a living corpse wasn't a bad idea. But in the next instant, I launched myself into the air, knee raised like a sharpened spear, driving it straight into his face. He was struck, his face a bloody mess, his features ruined. Next, I grabbed his head with both hands, clamping down like a vice. With a sharp twist, the sickening crunch of breaking bone echoed. His body crumpled lifelessly to the ground. With his abrupt demise, the ghoul hung its head low, as if its power source had been cut off. It stood motionless, but I didn't stop there, immediately drawing out Ji Lian Qi and firing a blazing red laser beam, aimed directly between the eyebrows of another metahuman. In a flash, he spun his broadsword, unleashing a powerful swallow return technique. A laser blade shot out from his back, piercing straight through the chest of the mutant standing behind him. From above, Zhuge Xing looked down, a knowing smirk playing on his lips. Meanwhile, the squad members behind him stared at me with stunned, wide-eyed expressions. Was this the combat prowess of a new recruit from Bureau 9? Truly worthy of those about to join the monster ward. A moment later, the squad leader regained his composure and walked towards me. He offered a crisp military salute. "Greetings, I am Tian Junhui from Bureau 6. I quickly retracted my laser sword and returned Tian Junhui's salute. "Hello, sir. I am Fuang Tran." Tian Junhui quickly raised his hand as if to cover my mouth. No, friend, please don't call me sir. You're a new recruit from Bureau 9, correct?" Slightly confused, I nodded yes. Tian Junhui smiled and said, "A new recruit from Bureau, a rank equivalent to a squad captain in other bureaus. Please don't call me chief. I really don't deserve such a title." It was only then that it hit me. The treatment in Bureau 9 was truly far above the ordinary. Then I took out my Ji Lian Qi and scanned the bodies scattered on the ground. Immediately, the point value on the accumulation card in my pocket jumped to 523 aberrant beings. Just now, I received 60% of the bonus points. Tian Junhui's squad only received 40%. Seeing that, I felt a pang of guilt. I took everyone's accumulated points. So, everyone, follow me into battle. Let's quickly overcome these challenges together. Hearing this, Tian Junhui looked towards the others. Receiving his teammate's agreement, he nodded. Immediately after, Tian Junhui raised his wrist and manipulated his smartwatch. A holographic projection of Lan Sheng appeared. Many red dots appeared on it, representing the active mutant group. 30 minutes later, the faces of Tian Junhui's squad were filled with joy. In just half an hour, they had swiftly overtaken 4 enemy squads. Their task was to inflict damage, while I took care of the finishing blows. The accumulated points were essentially split evenly between us. The points on my card had skyrocketed from 520 to 1,570. Then, Tian Junhui selected another mutant squad and sought my opinion. Seeing their formation of 5, 2 level 3s, 2 level 2s, and 1 level 1, I immediately nodded my agreement to attack. A few minutes later, upon encountering the enemy squad, I instantly critically injured a level 3 mutant. After that, I let my squad focus on dealing damage, while I retreated, observing and seeking an opportunity, waiting for the perfect moment to deliver the final blow. But just at that critical moment, the youngest boy, the lowest ranking member of the team, suddenly let out a blood-curdling scream. "Grandpa! Grandma! Help me!" His terrified shriek sent a chilling wave through me, my heart turning to ice. With the aid of my sensory perception ability, a wave of foreboding and imminent danger washed over me. Without hesitation, I instantly dodged away from my spot. The ground cracked open, and a monstrously huge snail erupted from the earth. Its slimy maw gaped open, tinged with the fresh scent of blood, and it snapped ferociously at the spot where I'd just been standing. Missing its target, the giant snail recoiled, then lunged towards the nearest team member. That teammate tried to flee, but a cold voice rang out. "Try to run, and you'll fall." As soon as the words were spoken, the fleeing teammate collapsed to the ground. With a single bite, the snail severed his leg. At the same time, the snail emerged from the ground. An old man appeared before us. Both of them, an old woman and a middle-aged man, wore grim expressions, their eyes wide with malevolence. That young man possesses a strength-type talent. His latent ability is certainly extraordinary. Is this old hag planning to drain his blood for her grandson to drink? Our precious darling, after drinking it, will replenish his vital energy and enhance his power. Like a wicked witch, the old woman let out a shrill, horrifying cackle. Precisely. This old man can certainly provide quite a bit of fresh blood. Half for you, half for me. The rest will be for our precious grandson to enjoy. Dien Junhui looked at the notification displayed on his smartwatch, his expression turning grave. Level 4 Beast Tamer, Level 3 Goo Master. I looked up at the sky, suddenly realizing that Zhuge Xing had vanished from the night sky without a trace. But Zhuge Xing possesses immense divine power and boundless magic, so I can't use the heavenly slaughter talent for now. Immediately after, I reached out and touched my storage ring. Fortunately, hidden within his spatial ring were a cloak of invisibility and a revolver. With a single bullet, he could easily blow the old man's brains out, the one with the level 4 combat power. At that moment, Tianjun and a few others were dragging their comrade with the severed leg back and were about to call for reinforcements. However, the old woman suddenly let out a cold snort, bellowing, calling for help. Your tongues will rot instantly. In the next second, Tianjun and those who tried to call for help screamed in agony. A stream of black blood gushed from each of their mouths. Witnessing this scene, he couldn't help but frown, his eyes widening in astonishment. This was clearly the evil curse of Goo witchcraft. The Goo-type talent was truly bizarre. Well, the old woman with greedy dark brown eyes stared at him. Fallen into the hands of us two old folks, and still hoping to survive? What a pipe dream. Immediately after, the old man licked his blood-stained lips, a satisfied expression on his face, as if he had just finished a feast of human blood. The old man's dull gray eyes bore into me, a sinister glint flickering in their depths. He pointed a gnarled finger at me and growled, "Kill him!" In the next instant, a monstrous snail, nearly 30 feet long, opened its gaping maw, emitting an ear-splitting shriek. It lunged towards me, razor-sharp teeth aimed directly at my body. That man was clearly just supposed to be captured for a few extra bonus points. But he charged into the group like a bloodthirsty beast among lambs, unleashing a devastating blow that instantly knocked down his opponent. He not only defeated the ancient Master King with level 3 combat power, pinning him to the ground, but also utterly decimated him, even swiftly eliminating a beast tamer with peak level 4 combat power. His attacks were ruthless, claiming lives in the blink of an eye. On the chaotic battlefield, amidst the relentless carnage, faced with the 30-foot snail monster charging at terrifying speed, Tianjun Wei and the others hastily launched their Jilian Qi, creating a solid hemispherical barrier. They took refuge inside the barrier, desperately calling for reinforcements. The snail opened its massive, blood-drenched maw and savagely attacked the barrier. A loud explosion erupted from the barrier. The grim old woman clutched a drum made of human skin, her wrist twitching to a bizarre rhythm. The human skin drum emitted piercing sounds, making everyone's heads feel like they were about to explode. "If you don't open the barrier, your comrades will all die," the old woman growled. As soon as her words fell, the light of the barrier visibly dimmed. Tianjun Wei, trying to remain composed, said to Xiao Chong, "Psychic talents counter Wu Gu talents. Attack her now." Just as he finished speaking, a young man immediately launched a psychic attack. A nearly invisible surge of psychic energy shot straight towards the old woman's head. But unexpectedly, the old woman suddenly pulled out a strange claw, covering her head, blocking all psychic attacks. The old woman let out a sinister chuckle. Old man attacked the barrier from below. Hearing this, the old man stood up and stomped his foot hard on the ground. The snail beneath his feet immediately burrowed into the earth. Tian Junhui's expression drastically changed. Tiles shattered and flew everywhere. Screams pierced the air. Immediately, a young man with a gentle and honest face pressed both hands firmly onto the ground. In the blink of an eye, the ground visibly hardened like steel, becoming incredibly solid. At the same time, the gigantic snail charged ferociously, its head slamming into the ground and sending a large chunk of earth flying high. It seemed determined to break the barrier, flinging those inside high into the air before smashing it back down. Jun, we try to stay calm, taking a deep breath and observing the small green dots rapidly converging on his wristwatch. Chun, don't worry. Reinforcements will be here any minute. Wait, where's Chun? He exclaimed. The other team members also looked surprised and bewildered. He was just here a moment ago. At that very moment, in front of the man with the beast taming ability, a spark flashed, followed by the sharp crack of a gunshot. The old man's head exploded like a smashed watermelon. The old woman beside him shrieked in horror. If you don't take off that invisibility cloak, your whole family. The old woman's curse hadn't finished when I materialized right in front of her. Spinning around, I unleashed a powerful punch, sending her body flying. Fearing she might not be dead yet, I flashed over and delivered another blow. Her head slammed into the wall. Curse my whole family, will you? My parents are already dead. Your pathetic curse doesn't work on me. I muttered a string of curses. Still not satisfied, I kicked her twice more. Just then, the giant snail let out a horrifying shriek. It thrashed madly in place, destroying a good portion of the walls. Still cloaked in invisibility, I flickered towards the enemy squad. Each punch I landed brought another one down. In the blink of an eye, the enemies were completely annihilated. One by one, they fell, lying scattered on the ground. From their bodies, a faint, almost imperceptible blood-red aura began to seep into me. The bloodline of the man possessing the beast-taming talent was merging with my own flesh and blood. In that moment, I felt a strange, innate energy. The power of the beast-taming system within me had been significantly enhanced. After finishing all of this, I deactivated my invisibility cloak and began collecting the spoils from the 10 fallen enemies. Just then, the points card in my pocket suddenly flashed brightly like a strobe light, blinking incessantly without pause. My accumulated points skyrocketed to over 3,000. At that very moment, a cavalry unit charged towards me from the distance, seeing the soldiers adorned with the Tian family crest, each with their mouths smeared with gruesome black blood, and me standing amidst a battlefield littered with corpses, a smile playing on my lips. They immediately assumed battle-ready stances, pointing their spears directly at me. Jun hurriedly grabbed the captain's arm, exclaiming in a panicked voice, "Captain Zhang, this person is a new recruit of Bureau 9. Captain Zhang froze, his eyes fixated on the bodies strewn across the ground. He gasped. A new recruit of Bureau 9 eliminated both a beast tamer with Tier 4 combat power and a Tier 3 ancient sorcerer. There's still a 5-man squad left. Captain Zhang swallowed hard, his voice raspy. Could he have already reached the 4-star level? To possess 4-star level battle prowess at this age. In the entire history of Manhwa, only 2 people have ever achieved that. I pocketed the points card, turned to look at Captain Zhang, and said casually, "Not as impressive as you think. I'm only at the 3-star level. I was able to take them down because of a spirit treasure." Captain Zhang let out a tisk. Even 3-star is incredibly rare. Even in Department 9, you'd be considered an exceptional talent. Then I pointed towards the giant snail, still writhing and struggling on the ground. "What do we do with this? You defeated the beast tamer, so this snail is now your spoils of war." Just then, a voice rang out. "You possess the beast taming talent. Do you want to subdue it?" In an instant, a man with snow-white hair materialized before me. All the cadets immediately stood at attention, saluting the instructor with resounding respect. I looked at the giant snail in front of me, shaking my head in disgust. "It's hideous. I don't want it." Suddenly, I remembered the diary I had luckily found, which described a majestic and incredibly powerful Qilin. Compared to it, this snail was nothing. Hearing this, Zhuge tried to reason with me. "This is a level 4 NI long snail. Moreover, its growth potential is very high, not ordinary at all. It can at least accompany you until level 10. I hesitated. "Can I exchange it for another one?" Zhuge nodded slightly. "You can. Go to the Wan Shou. You can exchange it for a comparable one there." With a snap of his fingers, the snail vanished into thin air. The members of Squad 6 all looked at me with a mixture of admiration and envy. That silver-haired man, was known as the most exceptional genius of the late century in Bureau 9. To have his protection, your future would be limitless. I almost forgot. Your beast taming talent hasn't been fully awakened yet. I'll take you to the wand, show gong, to awaken it. With a snap of the silver-haired man's fingers, the scene before them instantly changed. They appeared inside a lavish and extravagant bedroom. On the large bed, a man with a thick beard was sound asleep, his left arm embracing one, his right arm another, two breathtaking beauties with distinct auras. Zhuge Xing walked over to a chair, sat down, poured himself a cup of tea, and leisurely enjoyed it. Suddenly, from under the large bed, a surge of black qi billowed out. A gigantic black shadow, shaped like an enormous python, slithered out from under the bed. It opened its bloody maw wide and lunged towards Zhuge Xing. Zhuge Xing lowered his head slightly. His eyes flashed with a brilliant light like a lightning bolt in clear skies and roared, scram. In an instant, the ferocious look in the giant serpent's eyes was replaced by utter terror. Quickly pulled her head back, using the edge of the bed to nudge the burly, bearded man on the bed. The man, startled awake, saw Zhuge Xing leisurely, sipping tea, and angrily spoke, "Master Zhuge, what brings you here so late at night?" Zhuge Xing calmly raised his teacup and slowly said, "I've heard rumors of Shangguan Zhu's extraordinary ability to control beasts, but I didn't expect his skill in captivating hearts to be so impressive as well." At this moment, the two women beside the bearded man also woke up. Realizing there were two strangers in the room, they shrieked in terror, clutching their chests. Shangguan Zhu comforted the two frightened women, then stood up and asked, "Master Zhuge graces my humble abode, the Wan Shou Gong. What brings you here?" Zhuge Xing adjusted his dark glasses, obscuring his eyes, and said coldly, "First, put the gun away. I don't appreciate having a gun pointed at my head." Shangguan Zhu bowed her head slightly, quickly pulling on a pair of pants from beside the bed, then casually throwing on a golden silk robe before stepping onto the floor. "Now, can you tell me what's going on? Coming here in the middle of the night, what's the matter? I just recruited a new student possessing a beast tamer talent. We need to go to the Wan Shou Gong to awaken his abilities. And while we're there, help him choose two suitable beasts to form a contract with." Shangguan Zhu frowned at me, her eyes scanning me from head to toe. "A beast tamer talent, you say? And you think highly of him among the new students? Then it must be at least an S-rank beast tamer talent. S-rank without the need for any elixirs. S-rank, and without using any elixirs." Hearing this, Shangguan Zhu's eyes widened in surprise. S-rank without needing elixirs? It's a dual S-class beast taming talent, an incredibly rare ability. As we spoke, Shangguan Zhu stared at me, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Master Zhuge, could you possibly relinquish this boy to our Wan Shou Palace? At Wan Shou Palace, beast taming talents can be best cultivated and developed. But Shangguan Zhu, beast taming talent, isn't his primary talent. His most prominent talent is an SSS class strength talent." Hearing this, Shangguan Zhu looked like an old demon encountering a breathtaking beauty. Her gaze fixed on me. "Boy, what's your name?" Looking at Shangguan Zhu's eager eyes, I calmly replied, "Fong Chun." Shangguan Zhu furrowed her brows slightly, trying to recall. "Fong Chun, that name rings a bell," she muttered. "In this year's freshman list, students possessing SSS class talents, there's no one named Fong Chun." Master Zhuge spoke up. "As I just said, he didn't use the talent Awakening Potion." The head palace mistress lightly patted her forehead, her eyes gazing at Wu Yin with long. "Department 9, you guys really have swept up all the talent," she sighed. At this moment, Zhuge Xing spoke up, his tone straightforward. "Our 10,000 Beast Palace will help him awaken his talent. I have some news I'd like to share with you." The head palace mistress drew out her words, a probing look on her face. "Just now, you said you wanted to gift him a ferocious beast." Zhuge Xing snapped his fingers, a snap echoing in the air. A gigantic snail suddenly materialized in the middle of the bedroom. "He's the one who found this. Just exchange it for a comparable, ferocious beast for him. Of course, if you want to build a good relationship with him, gifting a higher-level, ferocious beast wouldn't be a problem either. I have no objections whatsoever." The head palace mistress smiled, asking, "All right, so what's the news you were talking about? Let's hear it." Gushing revealed his pearly white teeth, a knowing smile spreading across his face. "Let's help him awaken first. After he awakens, I'll reveal the news to you. I guarantee it'll keep you up all night with excitement. Of all the people at the Tianshan Bureau, Mr. Zhuge, you're the one I enjoy working with the most. Then prepare yourself for the awakening." With that, Zhuge Xing snapped his fingers again. When the scene stopped shifting, the three of them stood at the foot of a majestic mountain. A winding path snaked its way up to the summit. Shang Kung Zhu let out a gasp of admiration. A spatial talent, truly worthy of being called a top-tier talent amongst all the various types of talents. Zhuge Xing tilted his head, gesturing forward. "Exceptional personal ability, please don't elevate it to the level of talent." Shang Kung Zhu laughed heartily, stepping forward as he spoke. "I hear rumors that Mr. Zhuge is about to be promoted. Is there any truth to that?" Zhuge Xing smiled at the question. "My superiors have given me two options. 1, to join the church as governor of the Honglian district, or 2, to join one of the other 8 bureaus, with the freedom to choose and assume the position of director." Shang Gongzhu stopped in his tracks, a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. "So, what is Zhuge Xinxing's final decision? Where do you intend to go?" "I went to the mansion of the old general who holds the transfer orders. After a cordial and amicable discussion, he finally agreed to let me remain in Department 9. Shang Gongzhu turned, his gaze settling on Zhuge Xing. "Zhuge Xiansheng, the church wants you to take on the role of..." "It's nothing but a trivial promotion." Zhuge Xing showed complete indifference to the matter. "Those sanctimonious old fools in the church, besides spreading superstitious nonsense and deceiving people, and vying for power, fighting amongst themselves, have no other value." Shang Gongzhu was thunderstruck, quickly covering Zhuge Xing's mouth with her hand. "Mr. Zhuge, those words must never be uttered so carelessly." Zhuge Xing brushed her hand away with a look of disgust. "What have I said them? If they want to cause trouble, let them come for me." Shang Gongzhu nervously glanced around, his anxious expression and furtive movements betraying his fear of being overheard. Soon, the three of them arrived at a massive altar atop the mountain. In the center of the altar was a colossal staircase with 9 steps. Upon those 9 steps lay the enormous skeletal remains of a dragon. Zhuge Xing jerked his chin towards me, signaling me to step forward. "Go as far as you can." Shang Gongzhu stood beside me, advising, "After you step onto the stairs, if you feel the pressure is unbearable, stop immediately. Try to hold on the steps for as long as you can. If you possess an SS rank beast taming talent, then grit your teeth and endure on the 8th step for a while. There will be no problem." Hearing that, I asked doubtfully, "Is there any benefit to staying up there?" Shang Gongzhu patiently explained. "By absorbing the aura from the dragon bone, the longer you stay in this space, the stronger your beast taming talent will become. The dragon bone aura within your body will also become more abundant. Later on, when you want to make a contract with a spirit beast, or even a divine beast, while others might take up to 3 hours, you will only need a mere 3 minutes." Hearing this, I walked toward the staircase. Immediately, an incredibly mysterious aura enveloped me. As I easily ascended the first 4 steps, an invisible pressure began to weigh down on me, steadily increasing. It felt like being under the watchful gaze of the king of all beasts, sending shivers down my spine. But for me, it didn't pose the slightest obstacle. In a blink, I reached the 7th step. The moment my foot landed on the 8th, the pressure suddenly intensified. However, it was still within my control. My gaze shifted toward the 9th step. A burning desire to conquer ignited within me, but it seemed like this was my limit. Shang Gongzhu looked at my back on the steps with a covetous gaze. An SS rank beast taming talent, considered a supreme treasure within the Wan Shogun. Once he matures, as long as the owner of this talent remains in Wan Shogun, with such a rare SS rank beast taming talent, he will undoubtedly be chosen as a prime candidate for the position of Gongzhu, the future of Wan Shogun. But just as he finished his words, I stepped directly onto the 9th level. Witnessing this, the Gongzhu of Wan Shogun immediately exclaimed in astonishment, What is he doing? If he can't withstand the immense pressure on the 9th floor, he'll be crushed to death." Zhuge Xing's face was filled with doubt. If he can make it up there, it means he's come prepared. But young people at this age often like to show off. Perhaps he still doesn't understand the terrifying power of the 9th floor. Zhuge Xing glanced at Shang Wanzhu. Shang Wanzhu was worried that someone from Department 9 would be in danger on his turf, and he would have to bear the responsibility. Don't worry. If anything happens, I'll take full responsibility. Shangwan Zhu smiled faintly, a slightly embarrassed look on his face. I'm just worried. Such a promising young talent. I can't just stand by and watch him get hurt. While the two were talking, I had already been on the 9th step for over 10 seconds. Although my face still looked rosy, I could actually withstand the pressure. Shangwan Zhu said suspiciously, "That's not right. Could it be that only those with SSS-level abilities can step onto this step?" Goheng also appeared astonished, because he understood clearly the significance of the talent ladder at the Wanshou Palace. What does the 9th floor symbolize? Perhaps he possesses a strength-type talent. Palace Master Shang nodded, seemingly only able to explain it that way. After all, the physique of someone with an SSS rank strength-type talent. SSS. His power far surpasses that of ordinary beast tamers, and not just by a little. As each second ticked by, I sense an incredibly strange aura, resonating and merging with the aura within my body. In the long history of Wanshou Palace, what's the longest anyone has remained on the 9th floor? Palace Master Shang, please try to recall. It was our Wanshou Palace's founding ancestor, who stayed for a full 40 minutes. Second place belongs to the former palace master, who has retreated behind the curtains of Wanshou Palace. He managed to stay for 32 minutes. The third person only lasted 13 minutes. All three of them caused extraordinary phenomena, forcing all beasts to kneel and worship. I myself possess an SS rank beast taming talent, but I could only endure for a mere 2 minutes before I had to leave. But him, at this moment, besides a slightly faster heartbeat, he doesn't seem to have any other negative reactions. Palace Master Shangwan started to get restless, unable to sit still. Her eyes widened. 10 minutes already. How is this possible? Could it be he's dead in there? Hearing that, I opened my eyes for meditation and spoke. It's all right, Palace Master Shangwan. She was stunned for a moment from so far away. Can he still hear us talking? Zhuge Xing smiled calmly. I forgot to tell you, even without using potions, he possesses an S-rank sensory perception talent. Palace Master Shangwan was even more astonished, her eyes widening further, as if she was looking at a priceless, rare treasure. Her covetous gaze unconcealed. As the clock ticked past the 13th minute, a faint, ethereal lavender aura began to swirl and dance around. Just then, a white deer swiftly approached from afar, its gaze fixed intently on the figure standing on the 9th step. A moment later, the white deer spoke in an enchanting female voice. Master Zhuge. Zhuge Xing appeared with a warm, welcoming smile. Ah, the new recruit for Department 9. Time ticked by, each second deliberate and measured. At the precise moment I persevered to the 21st second, an earth-shattering roar ripped through the air. A magnificent white tiger, radiating power and majesty, charged towards them with lightning speed. Following close behind, a ferocious bird of prey, its identity shrouded in mystery, and adorned with vibrant, rainbow-colored plumage, descended from the sky. Next, a ferocious wild boar charged forward with terrifying speed, storming towards the mountain peak. Good evening, everyone. Zhuge Xing politely greeted everyone around it. This is the new student possessing the SSS-level beast taming talent from our Bureau 9. What? The ferocious boar let out a hoarse voice, filled with astonishment. Shangwan Zhu corrected him. Shangwan is a surname, and Zhu is likely short for something. Assuming Zhu is a title, it should remain as is, not SSS-level beast taming talent, but SSS-level strength talent. As half an hour passed, the faint purple aura enveloping my body suddenly split into two distinct streams. They danced and twirled playfully around me. In the vast sky, amidst the furiously gathering dark clouds, a colossal dragon head gradually materialized, standing out against the gloomy backdrop. An earth-shattering pressure radiated in all directions, causing everything to tremble in fear. In the blink of an eye, the entire area of the Wanshou Gong, 10,000 Beast Palace, all the beasts within, from the smallest to the fiercest, simultaneously erupted in frenzied roars, shaking the heavens and earth. Overwhelmed with emotion, Shangwan Zhu clutched his head. This young man had surpassed even renowned experts and become the second strongest in the glorious history of the Wan Shogun. The other witnesses wore expressions of astonishment, unable to believe what they were seeing. If he could actually surpass the 40-minute mark of the Kaishan trial, a record set by the founder of the Wan Shogun, they would spare no effort, no cost to keep this prodigious young man. But at this moment, I clearly felt that I could push myself a little further, but the heavenly slaughter talent was about to surge out of control. Just as the clock ticked past the 39th second, I suddenly stood up, forcibly ending the entire cultivation process. At that moment, dark clouds gathered in the sky, and dragon roars echoed throughout the land. The pressure from the 9 heavens enveloped all directions, filling the entire Wan Shogun. All beasts prostrated themselves in worship. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more, and I could have surpassed the achievement of the founding ancestor. It even led to a celestial phenomenon, causing all beasts to submit and worship. Palace Master Shang lightly licked her lips, astonishment in her eyes. At this moment, a sparrow suddenly flew over, fluttered its wings, and hovered before Shangongzhu. Palace Master Shangongzhu hurriedly cupped his hands to receive the sparrow. The sparrow glanced at the figure standing on the steps, then tilted its head to observe the silver-haired man beside it. From its beak came a raspy voice, weathered by time. Truly a rare talent, a descendant of the Zhuge clan, living up to their reputation. Your Bureau 9's mediocre beast tamers are simply incapable of training him. It will be better to entrust this child to our Wan Shogun. I'll offer you a divine beast with a combat power of level 13. How about that? Zhuge Xing's lips curled into a knowing smile. A level 13 divine beast? Palace Master, you are indeed incredibly generous, but I refuse. Beside him, the wild boar, its eyes bloodshot, spoke up. Palace Master, why waste words on him? Wouldn't it be quicker to just take him by force? The massive white tiger lay languidly beside them, emanating a terrifying aura of killing intent. It seemed to agree with the wild boar's suggestion. Witnessing the scene, Zhuge Xing's sunglasses slipped down slightly, revealing his sharp eyes. Immediately, thunder rumbled across the sky. Do you want to test your luck? Shangongzhu hurriedly stepped forward to mediate. Mr. Zhuge, didn't you say you had important news? Interesting enough for us. Interesting enough to keep us up all night? Unexpectedly, Zhuge Xing said with a smile. I've changed my mind. I want to hear that news. And we need to find a suitable spirit beast for him. Shangongzhu coughed urgently, signaling to Zhuge Xing. Didn't you tell me it wasn't like that before? Before? Your Wan Shogun doesn't intend to do anything either. This kid and I suffered emotional distress. You all should compensate us a little, right? The boar roared in fury. You white-haired brat, you dare to cause trouble in our Wan Shogun. Yang Wei, are you in the wrong place? Zhuge Xing remained completely unfazed. Your 10,000 beast palace can't stop me. Moreover, this is the person that Elder Yi personally instructed and has taken great care to cultivate. Zhuge Xing's words gave the experts of the 10,000 beast palace pause. The small sparrow perched on my palm. Palace Lord Wang smoothly changed the subject and asked, what news did you mention just now? First, let this young man choose his spirit beast. The little sparrow was silent for a moment, then lightly flapped a wing. A small mountain suddenly appeared, floating in midair. Inside the mountain, countless spirit beasts were moving and playing. Choose, the sparrow said to me, its tone gentle and friendly. Its voice was truly warm and approachable. I observed for a long time, feeling a little nervous. I never thought that these great figures would fight over me. That almost sparked a huge fight. Then, my gaze landed on the mountain, where countless beasts were soaring through the air. Immediately, I spotted 2 wolves, one black and one white, standing out prominently. It seemed that both my level 6 slaughter talent and my beast taming talent had a special connection to these 2 wolves. At that moment, Zhuge Xing's voice reminded me, those 2 wolves are only level 3. What about the bear lying in that cave? A peak level 4 sparrow, with future potential reaching at least level 12. But I didn't hesitate. I resolutely chose the 2 wolves. Seeing me choose the wolves, the sparrow flapped its wings frantically, one black, one white. The 2 wolves instantly appeared before me. With just a glance, they seemed to recognize the Hei Lang speed talent within me. Hei Lang is an innate speed-type talent. I placed my hand on the foreheads of the 2 wolves, and in the blink of an eye, established a spiritual connection with them. Immediately after, I discovered that I could not only control them, but could even, through their bodies, switching to their perspective. These sparrows by who, and the boar in front of me, are all beast tamers, using their spirit beasts' bodies to appear here. Beast tamers and their spirit beasts share a spiritual connection. Because I've currently reached Tier 3 combat strength, forming a contract with Tier 3 spirit beasts is completely effortless. The two wolves transformed into two brilliant streaks of light and burrowed into my arms. A wolf tattoo suddenly appeared on my arms, then quickly vanished. After everything was settled, the sparrow flapped its wings, summoning back Wan Shoshan, and said, "Descendant of the Zhu family, perhaps you should reveal the information you possess." Zhu Jixing pushed up his dark-rimmed glasses and calmly said, "Hong Huang number 1. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with this name." Hearing the name Hong Huang number 1, I couldn't help but freeze. Wasn't this mentioned in the diary I was lucky enough to obtain? Wild Boar's face fell at those words. The core secrets of Project Hong Huang number 1 have been lost for ages. There's no point dwelling on it. Zhu Jixing smiled in response. The professor who researched and created Hong Huang number 1 had 3 apprentices. When the professor was arrested, one of the apprentices committed suicide by poison. One apprentice defected overseas, and his most prized student vanished without a trace. A few days ago, the defector was extradited back by the church. According to her testimony, during the research and development of the Hong Huang number 1 elixir, she had raised a holy beast. This holy beast's power was said to be on par with the Hong Huang divine beast, known as the Qilin. Sparrow shuddered involuntarily at the mention of the word Qilin. If it falls into the church's hands, I'm afraid this will be a tough nut to crack. Unexpectedly, Zhu Gexing smiled and said, "That student who was apprehended was already in the church's custody, but those church fools were too incompetent. They lost him to the remnants of the Yongyi army during the transfer." Wild Boar hurriedly asked, "When? Where?" Zhu Gexing picked at his ear. "That's another piece of information for sale." He then pointed at me. "I want, after he officially enrolls for Shangongzhu, to set aside 1 day each week to personally tutor him." Shangongzhu was momentarily taken aback. Without hesitation, she replied, "Can we continue the story now?" Zhu Gexing leisurely continued. 4 days ago, at Dangyin Mountain, the remnants of the Yongyi army kidnapped that professor's student. I've reviewed the interrogation record of that professor's female student. She firmly stated that the professor had entrusted the Qilin to his prized student, who is now missing. Upon hearing this, the powerful figures of the Wan Shou Gong fell into silence. A brief but heavy silence, enough to sense that each person harbored their own schemes. As for me, I was observing the reactions of these big shots, because what they were searching for, I happened to know about. After a short silence, Sparrow spoke up, breaking the stillness. "Youngster of the Zhuge clan, this information is truly useful. This violent flame bear, consider it a gift for Fang Chun as a welcoming present, a way to forge a good relationship." Finishing his words, the small sparrow flapped its wings and flew off. A giant white bear suddenly appeared before Fang Chun. Fang Chun recognized it immediately. Wasn't this the bear from earlier? Zhu Gexing gestured for him to choose. Fang Chun then looked towards Zhu Gexing, hesitantly asking whether he should accept. Zhu Gexing tilted his head, looking at Fang Chun, and offered a grateful smile. "Thank you, Palace Master. Such a benevolent Palace Master. If you have time, come visit the Myriad Beast Palace more often regarding beast taming. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to come find me anytime. Let's go." Zhu Gexing snapped his fingers, and the scenery before them blurred. The two vanished from the spot, reappearing a moment later in Fang Chen's bedroom. Zhu Gexing casually reached for a French fry from the table, took a bite, and said, "About that snail, I've already reported it to the higher-ups for you. The corresponding points will be transferred to your account. As for that bear, I've locked it in a separate dimension. When your rank is high enough, you can crush it." With that, Zhu Gexing snapped his fingers, and a small spatial sphere appeared before me. I reached out and took the sphere, then asked, "If I crush this, will you instantly appear before me?" Zhu Gexing chuckled softly. "Kid, are you trying to act cute with me again?" I smiled sheepishly and asked, "So, can you appear before me anytime? As long as I can pinpoint your exact location, know your spatial coordinates, then yes." This decapitation operation will take place in daylight, half a month from now. Stay healthy and be prepared. I'll call you tomorrow at 1 a.m. sharp. I have to go now. That's all. The three characters, Zhu Guxing, vanished without a trace. As for me, to be on the safe side, in case that white-haired Zhu Guxing suddenly appeared, I climbed out the window and snuck into a park about 2 miles away. Immediately after, I raised my hand, releasing the two newly tamed wolves along with 2 streams of light, one black, one white, flashing in the night. The 2 wolves appeared before me. Hei Lang possessed a talent for speed, as fast as lightning. These 2 wolves can coordinate their attacks with impressive synergy. Moreover, the black wolf possesses a special skill called instant kill, an incredibly dangerous ability. It can condense all of its power, moving in unimaginable, terrifying speed to execute instant kill, finishing its opponent in the blink of an eye. The white wolf, on the other hand, possesses a spiritual talent capable of mind control. It can use its unique psychic abilities to slow down an opponent's perception of time. Combining with the black wolf, I unleash the ultimate technique, instant kill. Immediately, I activate the slaughter talent, and the mystical slaughter runes once again appear on the back of my hand. The 2 wolves lower their heads in reverence, like 2 loyal generals, obediently awaiting commands at my side. The moment my palm touches their bodies, the 2 wolves, one black and one white, tremble slightly. Immediately after, 2 faint streams of blood-red light, barely perceptible to the naked eye, shoot into the space between their eyebrows. In a mere instant, I feel a strange resonance, an indescribable connection emanating from the 2 wolves. In their eyes, a crimson light flickered, as if they had just been granted a miniature version of the power of the slaughter talent. Moreover, I could clearly sense that after the kill, the 2 wolves would absorb the enemy's strength and grow even more powerful. And through my beast-taming talent, I myself would also receive a corresponding power boost. The most intriguing aspect was the wolves' innate savagery and bloodlust. There wasn't a single trace that could be linked to the slaughter talent. Witnessing this scene, I couldn't help but rejoice inwardly. Unexpectedly, my slaughter talent possessed such a miraculous hidden function. I tamed the 2 wild wolves, perched them on my arms, and then leisurely returned to my room. Immediately after, I began to take inventory of the spoils I had acquired today. Among them, a pair of bright red triangular panties turned out to be a rare level 7 treasure. It can resist the Gu Master King's curse and terrifying poison. There's also a mysterious veil that the old woman used. It's also a rank 6 spiritual treasure capable of withstanding powerful mental attacks. However, using these 2 treasures makes me feel a bit embarrassed. The rest are just a few low-level spiritual treasures and ordinary jewels, gold and silver. The next morning, as the first rays of dawn broke through, Fong Chen opened his eyes to a message from Chu Xinyu, his close friend. The message to Fong Chen read, "Fong Chen, I have to leave Lancheng tomorrow. Could you spend some time with me today?" Fong Chen replied briefly, then got up to wash his face. Meanwhile, in the living room, Jiang Xiaowu was acting spoiled and clinging to Jiang Weidong. "Dad, buy me this spatial ring, pretty please? All the rich kids in my class have one." Beside them, Fong Tuesday Lan spoke sternly. "Xiaoyu, you're showing off. That's not good." Jiang Xiaoyu stubbornly retorted, "Mom, why are you saying I'm showing off? Once I get my allowance, I'll return the money to everyone." Jiang Weidong said in a deep voice, "No, this should be for your brother." Just then, I stepped out of the room. Jiang Weidong immediately jumped to his feet, a bright smile on his face. "Xiao Chun, are you going out? Your uncle bought you a spatial ring. Although the space inside is only 1 cubic meter, carrying it will be much more convenient. Xiaoyu, give the ring to your brother." Jiang Xiaoyu pouted and reluctantly took off the ring. Surprisingly, I smiled and said, "I don't need it. Since I joined Department 9, Jiang Weidong immediately started flattering. I had just come downstairs when I bumped into Xiang Xiaotra taking out the trash. "Where are you going?" Going to have dinner with a classmate." I stopped in my tracks. "Xiaotra, I have something for you." With those words, I handed Xiang Xiaotra a spatial ring. "This is a spatial ring? But if you give it to me, what will you use?" Xiang Xiaotra exclaimed in astonishment. "I went on a mission with that white-haired guy, and we got 2. Xiang Xiaotra looked up at him, smiling softly in gratitude. In the living room, Xiang Weidong turned to Fong Tulin, his eyes filled with worry. Do you think she still resents me? He asked hesitantly. It's not just what you said back then, but also what you did. It's hard not to hate you. Fong Tulin sighed, her voice tinged with resentment. Fong Tulin said exasperatedly, what are we going to do now? Xiang Weidong wrung his hands. That ring, it wasn't cheap. Maybe I should give it to Xiao Chun. She's obedient. She'll listen to me. Suddenly, Xiang Xiaowu rushed over and snatched the ring. She triumphantly slipped the ring onto her finger, a smug look on her face. If he doesn't want it, I do, Xiang Xiaowu declared. Just then, Jiang Xiaocha entered from outside. Jiang Weidong hurriedly asked, Xiaocha, did you just see your brother? How was his mood? He anxiously inquired. Did you see your brother just now? Did he seem all right? He looked very healthy. Hearing this, Jiang Weidong breathed a sigh of relief, the worry in his heart easing somewhat. Xiaocha, I have a spatial ring for you. Xiaoyu offered the ring to her sister. You don't need to give it to me. It's mine if it's on your finger. Jiang Xiaoyu let out a disgruntled sound. Jiang Xiaocha glanced at Jiang Xiaoyu with a cold look and calmly said, I don't need it. After saying that, she reached out and took an apple from the table. Even if you wanted it, I wouldn't give it to you. It's mine now, Jiang Xiaoyu said with a triumphant look. At that moment, Fong Huilon looked at Jiang Xiaocha's finger and asked in a surprised tone, Xiaocha, where did you get that ring on your finger? Jiang Weidong also looked over. This seems to be a spatial ring too. Where did this ring come from? How big is the space inside? Just now, downstairs. Big brother gave it to me. It's as big as a room. Fong Tuesday Lon was stunned for a moment. Where did your brother get this? Did you ask him? He gave it to me, so what does he use? He said he has another one. It was Mr. G. Did Mr. G from Department 9 also receive one for his mission? Jiang Weidong slapped his thigh. As expected, the treatment in Department 9 was truly different. The smug smile on Jiang Xiaowu's face gradually froze, looking at the spatial ring. In her hand, with a mere 1 cubic meter capacity, she burst into tears. At this moment, I was in the car, heading towards Chu Xianjiao's villa complex. I had been to Chu Xianjiao's house once before, but I had never met her father. However, at her house, I had met Chu Xianjiao's mother, a woman who always carried herself with an air of superiority. My impression of her wasn't exactly favorable. I had just rung the doorbell when a second-floor window flew open. Xiaofang, come in first. I'll be down in a minute after I freshen up. I shrugged habitually. Surprisingly, it wasn't a maid who opened the door, but a tall, burly man, with a muscular and imposing physique. He wore a sharp suit, but his face held an arrogant, condescending expression. On his lapel, a sun-shaped badge gleamed gold. The man looked down at me with disdain. His sharp, golden eyes held a look of contempt, dismissing everything around him. Are you Fong Chun? Hearing that, I lifted my head slightly and responded solemnly. If you want to make a move, I suggest you call Qin Juanhao here.